Hi, I'm Miles Stokes, and I am the co-host of Rachel and Miles Explain the X-Men, a weekly podcast where Rachel Edidin and I walk you through the ins, the outs, and the retcons of our favorite superhero soap opera. I'm also the co-host of Rachel and Miles Review the X-Men, which is this right here, where we talk about the X-books that come out every week. So Rachel, as I'm sure you've gathered, is out this week. She unfortunately has the legacy virus, and Colossus is going to have to kill himself and explode to cure it. It's going to be bad news. That'll probably happen by next week. But for now, it's going to be just me, and 7 X-books. So I shall soldier bravely on. We'll see how this goes. So let's get started with Guardians of the Galaxy number 24. This is part 2 of the Black Vortex crossover that's going on, and it's written by Brian Michael Bendis, with art by Valerio Schiti and colors by Jason Keith. So yeah, part 2 of the current crossover. This is actually the second time that all new X-Men and Guardians of the Galaxy have crossed over. The first time was the trial of Jean Grey. And the first issue we talked about how it felt a little too lighthearted. This one really brings in a lot more action, a lot more drama, a lot of great character interaction, largely centered around all the characters arguing about what to do with the Black Vortex, which is really the Black Mirror, but I guess they don't want to call it that because there's that TV show. Maybe. Anyway, basically they're deciding whether or not to turn into super badass forms of themselves to fight all the bad guys who are trying to get it. And pretty much the bulk of the issue is composed of just a big debate there. It's Kitty and Star-Lord's relationship being tried, Beast being very intrigued after seeing what science can be done by it, and it works really well. I do especially like that Kitty brings up the idea of the Phoenix Force as, you know, basically the Icarus of power of the X-Men universe, and Rocket Raccoon makes a joke about every time 2 mutants get together, they have to bring up the Phoenix Force. So it's good character work. The plot doesn't advance too much in this issue, although we do see the bad guys sort of doing their thing. But I find myself liking the crossover a lot better now with the second issue than I did the first. We'll see if it ends up having all that much in the way of consequences, but regardless, I thought it was a lot of fun. Second on the list is X-Men number 24. That's adjectiveless X-Men for those of you playing the home game. That's written, of course, by G. Willow Wilson, with pencils by Roland Boschi and Javi Fernandez, and inks by quite a few people, colors by Lee Loffridge. So this is part 2 of G. Willow Wilson's 4-part arc, each issue of which is going to focus on one of the 4 members of the team. The first one was Storm. This time it is Betsy Braddock, Psylocke. And it's largely a bunch of action scenes and just various sorts of tension as Storm is trapped underground. The other 3 X-Men are going down there trying to find her. And one of the things I really like about this issue is that it plays with scale. It plays with space very, very well. And, for instance, Storm is, everyone knows she's claustrophobic. She would talk about it literally every issue during Claremont's early run. So there's her crammed in this very tight space, and the other 3 characters, Monet, Rachel Grey, and Psylocke, in these giant caverns just full of these kind of demony, mutant-y monster things. I love that's contrasted. I also love the way that color is used in this issue, because since it's pitch black, it's underground, most of the illumination just comes from the psionic abilities, the telekinesis and such, of the main character. So everything is, in this pink or purple or whatever glow, and it's very effective. There's a great sense of pace, a great sense of space, and a great sense of tension in this issue. As for Psylocke's voice, she's the focal character, the narrator, and G. Willow Wilson chooses to focus not so much on her convoluted backstory as kind of her reactions to what's going on right then. And for an action-packed book like this, I feel pretty good about that. I feel like it captures Betsy's voice without dealing with, Quanon or Brian Braddock or whatever. So, yeah, I think this is a great issue. Rachel and I knew that G. Willow Wilson's run was going to be awesome. We gave it an award when we did our Corbos, our annual awards that we do. And so far it is proving deserving of that preemptive award. So, G. Willow Wilson, keep it up. Next up is Nightcrawler number 11, written by Chris Claremont, with art by Todd Knock and colors by Rochelle Rosenberg. So Rachel's not here, and I miss her, so I think I'm gonna try to do the sunglasses thing. We'll see how this goes for this review. There we go. I think it's a good look. Anyway, so yeah, Claremont is doing his own book right now, that being this one. He hadn't been writing X-Men for quite a long time before getting started, and it's okay. And it's been okay from the start, and it remains okay. He seems to be going for an Excalibur-style feel, sort of lighthearted and swashbuckling and adventure-y, and of course, Kurt is absolutely the correct character to do that with. He's had that work very, very well in the past, but this just feels forced and it feels disconnected. 2 of the main characters are these 2 teenagers from the Xavier School, and they're just very, it's kind of like the Venture Brothers without the irony. And normally I don't like irony, but sometimes that's what you need for that much just like, boy howdy earnestness. There are a couple of cool things. I mean, we see more of the Werewolves and the Hounds, old X-Men Excalibur standbys, irrespectively. And, that's fun. There's also a cool little mechanism where, since the issue takes place largely on this slave planet during an auction, we see the main characters at the top of the page with their dollar values rising as they do more badass things. But really, it's just, I don't know. This series is ending very soon. This is the second to last issue, and I feel pretty okay about that. It's not, terrible or awful, but I really, really wanted more. Chris Claremont has been a great writer. Nightcrawler has been a great character, and this book just, I don't think, is really clicking very well. Next is All New X-Men number 36, written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Mahmoud Asrar and colors by Mart Gracia. And I don't think I can pull this off. I'm no Rachel Edidin, so we'll just leave the sunglasses to her. Everything's so bright. Okay. Anyway, so this is basically the last part of the big arc that's seen the all-new X-Men characters in the Ultimate Universe, complete with the camel case dialogue and everything. And it's fun. It's a fun end to a fun story, which is just sort of, I don't know, kind of reminds me of the old DC stuff way back in the day when the different worlds would cross over and we'd see these characters that didn't normally overlap or interact, bouncing off each other in novel ways. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, we have the Ultimate X-Men and we have the young X-Men that are in the All-New X-Men book. And as has been the case throughout this entire arc, their dialogue with each other, their bouncing off each other is great. We also have Ultimate Doom, and as any podcast listeners know, I love Doom. Ultimate Doom is no Doom. He's fine, but he's not nearly megalomaniacal enough for my personal tastes. So, good stuff. Once again, Jean Grey interacting with Ultimate Jean Grey is just great, and every word is gold. There's also a couple of wonderful panels where Jean says my name, and it's kind of a dream come true, even if she's really referring to the new Spider-Man, but nonetheless, I'll take it. So, good stuff. I wouldn't call this a super consequential arc. I'm sure it'll play in more once the Ultimate and 616 universes merge in Secret Wars or after Secret Wars. For now, though, it's fun, and you could do a lot worse than an X-Men story that's really enjoyable from first page to last, and is just really fun. Now let's take a look at Cyclops number 10. This is written by John Layman with art by Javier Garrón and colors by Chris Sotomayor. And, we haven't really been too hot on John Layman's run of Cyclops, since it followed a run we liked very much by Greg Rucka. But I think it's really started to find its own unique voice. It's a different Cyclops than we've seen before. It's not the one Rucka wrote. It's not the one we've seen Bendis write in All New X-Men. But I'm okay with that. What this is turning into is a really fun swashbuckling story. And we're starting to see this Cyclops as a character that the series really is about. He's not just generic kid in swashbuckler story. He's a version of Scott Summers, and I feel pretty good about that. This issue is where everything really comes to a head. The pirates realize that the Summerses are related. I mean, they didn't know their last name, or else they totally would have realized it before. But anyway, Cyclops breaks Corsair out of jail. They're going to escape. They have to decide what to do when it looks like the pirates are all going to get killed by the Shi'ar. It's fun. There's some good character work. It's sort of over-the-top swashbuckly drama. And, we still have an issue, I believe, left of this arc, and I'm really curious to see what happens. I'm pleased with how John Layman has really turned this one around. So Rachel always has really strong opinions about this book because Cyclops is her favorite character. She's not here right now, so I thought we would ask Talking Cyclops action figure what he thinks, so I can have somebody to bounce my ideas off of. So let's see. So there you have it. It's official. Next up is the ubiquitous and weekly series Wolverines. This is written by Ray Fawkes with art by Jason Masters and colors by Guy Major. And this issue, just like the last one, this is what I want out of this book. We're finally doing the heist of Mr. Sinister's laboratory that we've been waiting for the first few issues, and it's so much fun. It's just stupidly, violently over the top, and that's exactly what I want in a book like this. It reminds me of some of the better versions of X-Force that we've seen, actually kind of like the current one by Cy Spurrier. And, I mean, we have things like Sabretooth and X-23 driving their claws into their ears to destroy them so that they can't hear these command words that another character is trying to say. We have Phantomelle getting ejected into space and twisting the 6 dimensions that she can control to teleport somewhere else. We have the X-Men showing up and being really larger than life and not fully knowing what's going on, which is entertaining. It's really fun. I mean, this has been an immensely uneven book. Makes sense for a weekly book that it would be. But the last issue and this one, great. Having lots of Mr. Sinister, also never a bad thing. And finally, we have X-Force number 15, written by Cy Spurrier, art by Rock Hae Kim, and colors by Jose Villarrubia. So this is the last issue of Cy Spurrier's X-Force run, and I am going to miss this book so much. I went from somebody who had no idea what Spurrier was doing with the first issue of this and kind of didn't like it at all to somebody who is a total believer. This book has been brilliant. It's all about broken people trying to do the right thing for the wrong reasons or the wrong thing for the right reasons, bouncing off of each other and slowly self-destructing more and more. And this book just puts a perfect thematic bow on it while having one of the greatest action sequences I've seen in a comic in a long time. And in a book called X-Force, that's exactly what you want. High drama, high action. Kind of like the Wolverines series, yeah. So this really, it's the finale I was hoping for. Now, I don't want to go too much into it because that would be giving away pretty much everything this issue does right, and I would not want to deprive anybody who's going to read that of reading that for the first time themselves. But we do see the mission statement of the book, sort of what Cy Spurrier was trying to do with it, just perfectly stated by Hope Summers, who's the narrator of the book, which is only fitting since it sort of started with her and is now ending with her. We see a final showdown with the completely out of it Phantom X, and we see a lot of really unexpected stuff, and an ending that I thought was earned perfectly. The last page genuinely surprised me in a way that I loved. So obviously this would be a terrible place to jump into this book. It's the final issue. But if you have a chance to pick this up digitally or pick up the trades to read the entire series as one work, I would really recommend this. If you can stomach a very strange storyline and some ultra-violence, this is one of the best X books that's been around for a long time. So Cy Spurrier, well done. Looking forward to seeing what that guy does next. So I'm sure it comes as no surprise that with a review like that last one, our book of the week is in fact the series finale of X-Force. Simon Spurrier has said in interviews before that he always writes beginnings with an ending in mind, and that's really unusual, especially in an ongoing style universe like the X-Men, but I think it works really well. It probably helps that he does teams/characters that are self-contained very well. In the case of X-Men Legacy, that was Legion. In the case of X-Force, it's a team that's very much on the other side of the Marvel Universe doing their own secret, creepy things. And this is a complete work in a way that not a lot of stories are. It calls back to the first issue, the second issue, stuff from the very, very beginning, and just everything feels very deliberate, and thus everything in this last issue is very satisfying. So issue of the week, definitely that one. Now, as for the panel of the week, I kind of wanted to cheat and use this one right here just because it's Jean Grey saying my name like I said before, but I guess that's probably not the best choice. So instead, let's go for this panel from G. Willow Wilson's X-Men. What I like about this one, yes, it's a full splash page, and that can be sort of a cheat sometimes, but it establishes a sense of scale in a story that's really all about scale. We see this tiny little caption just sort of up there in the corner with a lot of empty space behind it that just emphasizes the magnitude of this cavern that the characters are overwhelmed in. We see the only light coming from the characters themselves and just illuminating only all the monsters that are rather close to them, thus implying that there's a lot more out there that they can't see, all of them with their backs against each other. It just really has a great last stand, what the hell are we going to do now feel for it. And I love that when a page can tell a story without really having to have very much dialogue at all. So good stuff there too. Okay, so I am all done. Those are all 7 issues for this week. I feel like I've really learned a lot about myself doing all these reviews alone. I hope you've learned something too. I hope we can all learn something together today. So if you like this, then please check out Rachel's and My podcast, which is Rachel and Miles Explain the X-Men. You can find that on iTunes, Stitcher, and at rachelandmiles.com with new episodes every Sunday. I'm really excited about the episode that's about to go up. That was actually the origin of Legion that we covered in that one from the old New Mutant story back in 1985. And we have the writer of the just ended X-Force, Cy Spurrier, on to discuss it with us and then talk a little bit about X-Men Legacy, the series he did a couple of years ago that starred Legion. It's a really interesting interview. Cy's got a lot of interesting things to say, and he also proved that British people are way better than Americans at profanity, and I really appreciated that. So check that out. These video reviews and our podcast and everything we do that's X-Men related, that's all because of our awesome Patreon supporters. Thank you guys always so much. If you'd like to become a supporter and get some cool rewards and just help us keep doing what we're doing, check out the link that's down here somewhere. I'm not sure where it's angled in your browser, but check it out. Anyway, we will see you next time, hopefully with a fully functional Rachel. Take care.